Hey, besties. Today, we are going to be judging in the BookTube Prize for 2026. Now, if you've not heard of the BookTube Prize, it has been around for 8 years. 2026 will be the 8th year of this. This is a book prize, kind of in a similar vein to like the Booker Prize or the Booker International Prize. And this one in particular is created by, it is judged by, and awarded by people in the BookTube community. That includes Bookstagram, Book Talk, and it's not just creators, it's also consumers of BookTube content. And so I love that about this. And I just on a whim decided like, hey, I want to be involved in that. I want the chance to judge that. So here we are. I have my notes with me because I was like, there's no way I'm going to remember literally all of this. So the way this works is you sign up to be a judge in, I think December is when we signed up if we wanted to be a judge for the 2026 round. And in January, the organizer will send out a list of about 100 books in each of the two categories. And so there's fiction and there's nonfiction. So we received a list of about 200 books and we kind of go through all of those and we select the ones that we think should be part of the BookTube Prize. You can follow all of this on both the Instagram and the YouTube channel for the BookTube Prize. If you want to follow along this year and then next year, or if you want to judge next year, highly recommend giving both of those a follow. I'll link them down below. So then we start the first round in February, and it goes February through March, and that's the Octo Finals, which is what I'm judging for. And judges are randomly selected from the pool of people who volunteered to judge. And so you don't always get selected, and you won't always be selected for every single round. So this is going to be the Octo Finals. There are 48 books in the fiction category that made it through to the Octo Finals. And I have been assigned to Group D, I think. I'm put it on screen. I forgot what group I'm in. I am going to read 6 books that were assigned to everyone who's judging in my group. And I'm going to rank them very simply 1 through 6. No explanation, just which one was my number 1 loved and which one was my least loved of the 6. And I will submit my ballot by March 31st from my rankings and from all the other rankings of everyone else in my group. The top 3 books will go on to the next round. So in the octofinals, we have 48 books that are being judged. In the quarterfinals, there will be 24 books being judged. And then in the semifinals, there will be 12 books being judged. And in the final round, there will be 6 books being judged. You guys follow the math, right? I should mention that the winner of the BookTube Prize, the first, second, and third place will be announced in October. It is currently February 14th. It is Valentine's Day. So we have a journey ahead of us this year. A couple of things that go into being a judge. The first is that you are assigned books to read and you have about 2 months to read them. And the second is that you're not allowed to talk about it. So I have to read these 6 books. I have a BookTube channel where I talk about everything that I read, but I'm not going to be allowed to do that until the Octo Final winners are announced, which will be in April sometime. So I have decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to track my reading in my reading apps like I normally do so I can get my credit for reading my books, but I'm not going to give a review and I'm not going to give a rating. And I'm going to write them down separately, and I'm not going to enter those until the winners are announced. That's the best way that I can do this. The other thing is we have been asked if we have a platform, a channel of some sort to create content around it so that people can be a part of the process, even if they're not judging, even if they're just finding out about it. So that's what I'm doing. So this video that you're seeing right now, we're going to talk about the books that I'm supposed to read today. And then for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to read 1 book per weekend. None of them are excessively long. So I think I should be able to get them done on like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday basis, which leaves me like the rest of the week to read my other books that are not related to the BookTube Prize. Let me show you the 6 books that are in my grouping. And I also have decided that I basically want to go into these books blind. Like I don't want to have any preconceptions or pre-notions about any of them. So anyway, let me shut up and show you the books here. The first book is Dream Count. This one is the one that I had already purchased when my category was announced. So I am excited about that one. I think this is also the longest one that I have. Let me see. Okay, yeah, it's just about 400 pages. I can do that in a weekend. It'll be a stretch, but I can get it done. The second book that I have is What We Can Know. The cover looks interesting. I don't know. Is that like a mirror? Whoa. The text in here is huge. This one is 297 pages. All right, book number 3 is Nesting. This is the one that I said has been on my TBR for a while. Literally no clue. I can't even remember who it was that was recommending it. I just know that I ran and put it on my TBR like on Goodreads, and it's been there ever since. This one has gigantic print, and it is not a large print copy. It's just made for people with old ass eyes. 384 pages. And number 4, Shadow Ticket. I wonder if the naked hardcover looks cool at all, but the dust jacket of this looks nice. And I love that it doesn't have any like quotes or anything on the back. Like, just give me the book. Just give me the book. That's all I need. So Shadow Ticket is number 4. Love a book that's printed to the end. 293 pages. Book number 5 is Stag Dance. I have heard a lot of people saying that this one is really good. Honestly, when I heard people talking about it, I was like, ooh, I don't know. Like, the cover's not really giving anything that I would pick up myself. 286 pages. But it's a short one. So like the book itself is literally short. So that's the deceptive page count, I think. The word count would probably be more helpful. Oh, are we going to be able to fit these on our shelf? I don't know. And then our last book is Theory and Practice. This is a short book, like short in stature, and it's also thin. Let's see how many pages this one is. Oh, 175. So I could probably finish this one in a day. And so whenever I pull this one, I may try to do 2 books, like start the second book. Ooh, it would be nice if I could do this one and then start Dream Count on the same weekend and then leave the rest of Dream Count for like the following week. I don't know. We'll see how this works out. And there we have it. Now, I meant to film this video a couple of days ago, but your girl has just been busy. So I'm technically supposed to start reading the first book right now. Which one do I want to read first? I have an idea. Let's do a spinner wheel and have it select which book I'm going to read. That way it's like truly random and I'm not like reading the one that I already had on my list first because that's the one that I like first and having that bias my ranking. Ooh, yeah, let's do that. Let me get a spinner wheel. Okay, your girl made a spinner wheel. I don't know. Let's spin and find out what we're going to read first. What We Can Know. Okay, this is by Ian McEwan. Okay, so without reading the synopsis of the book, because I want to go into it blind, like I said, the back of it has praise for Ian McEwan. It says, no one now writing fiction in English surpasses Ian McEwan. The plot clicks forward, the characters lifted into real being by his gliding, edgeless, observant, devastating prose. He is the master clockmaker of novelists, piecing together cogs and wheels of his plots with unerring meticulousness. Okay. Oh, this is the guy that wrote Atonement. Okay. All right. This story is a quest, a literary thriller, and a love story all wrapped up into one. It happens both in the past, 2014, and in the future, 2119. So in the past, there's this guy who is a huge author and he recites a poem out loud and then nobody ever hears it again. There's no written copy of it anywhere, supposedly. And so in 2119, the lowlands of the UK have been submerged by rising seas. And so the people who survive spend a lot of time thinking about the past and what the world used to be like. There's this guy named Tom. He's a scholar at the university in the part of the remaining archipelagos of Britain. And he is absolutely obsessed with this poem. And he spends basically all of his life looking for a copy of it. And then he gets a clue as to where it might be. And he's off to the races. I had a lot of thoughts while I was reading this.
And primarily, like, I was really bored in the beginning. The opening, like, 5 chapters felt like a long, rambling intro, and honestly, it should have been capped off at page 2. This whole book was a perplexing juxtaposition of the floweriness that is the study of English, like language and poetry, and also the utter devastation humans brought to the planet through global warming and the denial of climate change altogether. Sounds familiar? Anyway, I basically was like, what exactly is this book trying to say? Because I was reading the words and I guess I got them, but like, it was just so rambly. I don't really know. And I wrote a note for myself that said, even the students in this story are fed up with the narrator. Something happened on page 122, if you're curious what that is. I really kept trying to ask myself, is there a point to this? So we have this guy obsessed with finding a copy of this poem, and we keep getting flashbacks to when the poem was written, and there's like a murder mystery involved in this. There's a terrible marriage. Like, it's just a lot. And there are parallels between what happened back in the day and Tom, the guy who's obsessed with the poem, because he ends up getting married at some point, and that's a pretty terrible marriage. Well, actually, did they get married or they were just in like a long-term committed relationship? Either way, he was a terrible partner. And so his obsession with the poem really overtook his ability to be in a relationship. So you get kind of like halfway through the book and poof, there goes chapters up in flames. Like, there's no more chapters anymore. It's just 130 pages of not a single line break. And I'm like, who approved this? I don't understand. So by the time I got to the end, I was pretty frustrated with this book. But I guess it did kind of make sense in the very, very end. But I mostly just was like, was this necessary? Like, what was the takeaway supposed to be? I am apparently missing the genius of this somehow. It's just a rambling story to me, and I don't really like that. So I rated it 2.5 stars, and I feel like that might have been pretty generous.
Okay, y'all have seen my thoughts on what we can know. So let's spin for the next book we're going to read. All right, we've got our beautiful spinner wheel here with our 5 remaining books on it. No idea if you guys can actually see that or not. There's glare from the window. We got nesting. Okay, hang on. Okay, this is one that I really wanted to read. I don't remember a darn thing about this book other than it was highly recommended by another YouTuber that I watch, and she made it sound good. So just like with what we can know, I'm going to go into it totally blind.
So this is a story about Ciara, and on the surface, she has the perfect life, and her sometimes kind and attentive husband, Ryan, is a good provider for a nice family, but he also monitors Ciara's every move and flies into unpredictable rages where he's convinced that she can do nothing right. And he's isolated her from work, friends, and her family. So some of my thoughts while I was reading this, I was like, this is so intense. I'm literally holding my breath reading this, waiting for this man to you know what I mean? Then there was me screaming at Ciara to just leave this garbage alone, but also knowing full well that it's the hardest thing she'll ever do, and just, oh God. Like, at some point, I literally stopped the book and was like, is this man gonna kill her? I will never understand why a narcissist would fight for access to their children when they don't want to spend any actual moments with the said children. Like, it cannot be that serious. You really can't think of any other way to hurt your ex. Anyway, for me, it was really the way that I could not breathe whenever Ciara caught a break in this story, because I was just sitting here waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for her garbage can husband to show up and wreck shop. So anyway, I made it through this book and it was absolutely incredible, and I rated it 4.5 stars, and I had an early feeling about this book being towards the top of my ranking. So this story is about a Nigerian travel writer who's living in America. She's from a wealthy family in Nigeria, and you can kind of tell. Anyway, it's about her, and she's thinking about her past lovers, and I guess, her choices and regrets. And then it also ends up being about her friends and her circle of friends. And it's just like, it was a lot of words. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a lot of words. And I personally don't feel like I ever got the point of this, although I'm sure that there is one because all of the blurbs about it on the internet keep saying that there is one. At 17 pages in, and I was bored at first, just as bored as the character who was explaining the humdrum of her COVID lockdown. But now I got met with like her hotep boyfriend, and I kind of got a little bit interested, like to see where this was gonna go. Later on, I figured out that this was like a series of stories about Chia, that's the main character, about her poor dating choices. Like, I mean, yikes, dude. Then her cousin comes in and she's also making shitty choices, and maybe it's the men, but like we're hearing the story from the women's perspective, so that's how I'm feeling about it. I will say there should be a trigger warning in here for female genital mutilation and also sexual assault. So if that is something that you cannot handle, do not read this book. I'm gathering that this book is just about these various women and their overlapping lives, and I wanted to know where this was headed, but I was just so freaking bored. And I wrote that several times when I was reading this. I'm like, I'm bored, I'm so bored. So I think I just don't like this style of storytelling, and that's just personal for me, but I'm just kind of learning that as I'm going through these books in this challenge. However, I will say that, quote, "Please, you have to leave, I want to pray," is hands down the funniest thing I have ever heard someone say to get a hookup out of their house the next morning. I honestly could not wait for this book to be over, and I felt like it was way longer than it needed to be, and we just never really got to a real point. There wasn't even closure over the kind of like overarching story that sort of brought all of these women together. It didn't really bring them together, but it kind of did. We never got a resolution to that story. So it was like, okay, thanks, I guess. Anyway, I rated this 3 stars, and I think that's more than generous.
Oh, hey, besties. So I just finished Dream Count, which is the 3rd of the 6 books that I have to read. So I have the flu. And I don't even, like, I look terrible. I sound terrible. I'm actually on the upside of having the flu right now. So yay for that. So I have not been recording any footage of anything, but I was able to get a couple clips of reading Dream Count. And I just finished it. It was a long, hard read. And I don't remember in this video if I had planned to talk at all about the books when I finished them, or if I was just going to do the voiceover. But listen, I have the flu and it's my video and I can do whatever I want. Part of that is putting this book back together. Before this, I also finished Nesting, and this one I'm certain I have like almost no footage of whatsoever, because I had planned to film the end of me reading it, and that was like the day that I came down with the flu. And your girl was struggling. Like, I was not well. I mean, obviously I had the flu. Good times. I have not had the flu in well over 20 years. I managed to make it this far in life without getting COVID, and I haven't had the flu in 20 years. So I guess it was just my time, y'all. The 3 books that I have left are the 3 smaller books of the 6 that I had to read. So I don't know that it's going to take me terribly long. I'm going to pull out my iPad and I'm going to spin to see which book I need to read next. But I think I'm going to take a moment off from these particular books and just go read something else, like just literally anything else that I want to read from like my monthly TBR or just from my shelves. I've been really in the mood to like binge a fantasy series from top to bottom. This has nothing to do with this video. Let's give this a spin. Hopefully y'all could see that because I was blocking it, but I got Stag Dance. So this will be the one that I read next. This cover looks gruesome. Oh, okay. I'm trying not to read the description, but it says in this collection of 1 novel and 3 stories. So this is like short stories, I guess. Ugh, it's not my jam, but okay, whatever. I'm going to go into it with an open mind. It's going to be fine. 286 pages. I don't know if I want to read this. Well, I don't know. It kind of seems like it would make short work of it. Like I'll read a short story because there's 3 short stories in a novel. So I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm going to read Stag Dance next, and that will leave me with Shadow Ticket and Theory and Practice. And honestly, I wouldn't be mad at having Theory and Practice be the last book that I read because, like I said, I can knock it out in a day. And if worse comes to worse and we get down to the wire, I feel like I could read it really quickly. I will say, like, I've been enjoying this process of judging the books. However, I have been a little bit antsy because I have been focusing so hard on these books and not really been able to read what I want to read per se. So I think at first I was like, oh, I hope that I can judge the whole competition. Not every judge gets picked to judge every round. But now I'm like, actually, I wouldn't mind taking off. This is the octo finals. And so next is the quarterfinals. I wouldn't mind taking the quarterfinals off and then coming back in maybe the semifinals or even just the final so that I can have time to focus on what it is that I personally want to read outside of this competition. Awards cup. Oh my God. Words are so hard right now. So you know what I'm trying to say though. Let me get back to what I'm doing. I've done my reading for the day. What I'm about to do is take a nap because I'm tired. And I've been awake for a solid 6 hours now without a nap. And that's a lot for a person with the flu. So I'll catch you guys in the next clip, whenever that is.
Okay, maybe it's me, you guys. I didn't like this book either, if we're being honest. Now we know up front that I do not like short stories, and this was 3 short stories plus a little bit of a longer one, and all of them were just, I don't really know, I don't know. So the first one is called Infect Your Friends and Loved Ones, and friends should not inject anything into friends without permission. This is crazy. The story itself was absolutely crazy town. This is a ex-lover who stabs her ex-lover with a needle with a contagion in it. Terrible. Then there's one called Chaser, which I said was kind of sad, and I really just hate the lengths that boys will go to prove their masculinity. And this was kind of a case study on that. Then there was Stag Dance, the one that the book is named after, and I didn't understand a single bit of the logging jargon, but okay, whatever. It was a bunch of guys who are loggers, but they're illegal loggers. I don't know. I don't get it. At one point, I had read an entire chapter and it made 0 sense. It was 60% lumberjack jargon, 12% wild prose, and the rest was just exclamation marks. Every sentence for 3 pages ended with an exclamation. The word grandiloquent was used in this book, and it's the truest descriptor of the 100 some odd pages that followed. How ridiculous. The last part was called The Masker, and it was a trans woman, or maybe a crossdresser, I don't really know, who enjoyed being in an abusive pseudo relationship because it made her feel like a quote real woman. I mean, it was something. So anyway, I rated this one 3 stars somehow. And now that I'm thinking about that, that feels really high because I did not have that good of a time with this book. In Theory and Practice, we are following this woman. It's the 1980s. She's a Sri Lankan immigrant who has moved to Sydney, and she gets cheated on by her boyfriend. So then she decides she's going to be in a relationship with this other guy who is in something called a deconstructed relationship with this other girl named Olivia. And so then our main girl, which I don't think we ever even got her name, but she gets jealous of Olivia somehow, and it becomes a competition only in her head. It's super crazy. It's super weird. And I just, I didn't actually hate this book, but I had a lot of feelings about it. So first I was oh yeah, I'll be able to smash this book in one day, no problem. And then quickly I was no, just kidding. This is dense AF. What's even going on here? There was random rambling with no actual chapter breaks. This has gotta be my second least favorite type of book. But here we go, I guess. So there was a lot of French in this book, which was really stretching my French. And I don't even know how non-French speakers can even read this in all seriousness. I get what this was about, I think, but I have no idea why there were so many words. Like, as short as this book was, why was it so long? And I kept reading and I was like, girl, what? Like, I think our girl probably needs to talk to an adult. And like, when I say talk to an adult, she needs like a therapist and maybe a pill. And I honestly was just kind of like, this is the kind of book that makes me question if I myself have any critical thinking skills whatsoever. I'm not sure that I do, but I ended up ranking this book. I ended up rating this book 3 stars, and that kind of feels appropriate. I did not have a bad time reading this. I just had questions about why there are so many freaking words. So then for the last book, I was reading Shadow Ticket, or attempting to read Shadow Ticket. Now, I want to tell you guys what this book is about, but the problem is that I literally don't really have any idea. So the book is like written in 1920s Chicago gangster speak, and your girl's not even remotely fluent in this. So, I don't really know what it was saying. I had to stop on page 12 the first night from reading it because my brain could not compute. And so then the next day I reread the first chapter and I was even more lost somehow. Besties, I don't know. I do not know. I swear that I gave this one a good college try. Like, I kept coming back to it. I kept rereading it. I was Googling things. But I can't Google the whole freaking book. I just need someone to translate it for me so I can read it. So I read 50 pages of it and I don't really know. Like, I don't, from what I could understand, nothing had actually happened yet. Now, it could be that I didn't understand it and something was happening and that's on me. But like, is it on me or is it on the author? I don't know. I did at one point feel like I almost knew what was happening, but I certainly couldn't answer a single question about this book. So I really debated, like, should I DNF? Can I DNF? Do I just rank it last since it's the only one I didn't finish? Like, what do I do here? And I was unsure, but after much frustration, which you can see all over my face in this video clips, I just gave up, yo. I gave up. Sorry. Please enjoy like 10 seconds of the absolute agony of me trying to decide the fate of this book. And I think I thought I was gonna push through, but no, absolutely freaking not.
Okay, friends, the BookTube Prize Octo-Finals round is officially over now. It is time for me to reveal my rankings. I have submitted my rankings online. I'm going to show you guys. I don't know. I'll put the footage somewhere. But we're going to go through the books and where I am officially ranking them. And then we're going to check and see if they made it to, if my choices, my top 3 made it to the next round. I feel like there's a lot of cleavage going on today, and it's not intentional. Okay, so I had to log into our judging platform and submit the books like in my ranking order. And one thing I want to do is give a huge shout out to Robert, who is the organizer, the runner of the BookTube Prize, because we submitted this stuff at like 5 p.m. on the 30th of March. And he came out with the video on the very next day at like 1 p.m. with the results. Now, I get that the program that we use to put our votes in like turns the data over as soon as it's closed, but like he still had to get his graphics together and film the video, et cetera, et cetera. So just like my hats off to him for how quickly he turned this around. Okay. So my ranking on the books, coming in at last place at number 6, Shadow Ticket. And you guys saw, I didn't even finish this. I had to DNF this because it was insufferable. And because it's the only book that I DNF'd, it was very easy for me to mark it as the last place. So this was number 6. And in 5th place for me was What We Can Know. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I read this one first, and I did not think it could get worse. I was bored confused. I wasn't confused in the way that I was with Shadow Ticket, where I literally had no idea what was happening. I wanted to be more of a story and less of like someone's diary. And it just didn't do it. Listen. So coming in fourth place for me, Stag Dance. I actually really liked the first two of the short stories in this book. But then when we got to the third one, which is actually the title story and the longest one, I could not have cared less. And I thought it was super weird. And the whole book is an exploration on gender and gender norms and sexual attraction and things like that. But I think the way that this story was told in particular was very masculinely grotesque. And I just was not into it. Like it was grossing me out, not the sexuality part of it, but more so like the circumstances around the sexuality. So like, I don't think I'm explaining that right. What I mean is, there's like a particular scene where these two gentlemen are about to do whatever they're about to do, but it's like dirty and like their surroundings are like dirty and cold and icy, and they're in like a lean-to tent and they haven't bathed. And I was like, ew. I just so it like grossed me out in that aspect. And like, I think I have complained about this. Oh, you know what it was? Was it Emily Henry? Was it Beach Read? Something like that, where they were like they were camping and they got like caught out in the storm and they got wet and they were in their tent and they were going at it. And then the next morning they put those damp clothes back on and then they went to breakfast. Ew, I can't do it. It's unsexy to me. And so that grossed me out. And then I didn't have it for the fourth story that was in here. Like at that point in the book, I was just like, I don't ever want to read this again. Yikes. But because I liked the first two, I rated it a little bit higher than the other ones. So that was my fourth place choice. In third place, we have Theory and Practice. This one was actually the quickest read. I read this did I read it in 2 days? I think I ended up taking 3 days because I was like, oh, I got to stop reading and go to bed. But this one was a quick read. It was short and I actually didn't hate it. So that's saying something. I didn't mind it so much. Is it for me? Would I have read this on my own? No. But like, it was a decent story. It was just kind of annoying. So that was third place. At least I didn't like get the ick from whatever sexual situations anybody was in. So then in second place, we have Dream Count. This one was one that was actually on my TBR. So I was excited about that. I read it. This was a chunker. It doesn't look like it's that long, but it was a long read. Again, it was a little bit rambly and I don't like books that ramble and kind of talk about nothing for a long time. I want a story. I want to know where we're going. I want to get on the highway and drive to our destination. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just me. I guess that's just my preference. And these like kind of like rambly books that kind of have a point, but sort of never get there, have an underlying message. Like this one definitely had an underlying message, but like we didn't really get to a point. So those kind of books are just not for me. I have learned that about myself. So this one was my second place book because the other four were just for me. And this one I actually somewhat enjoyed. So, I mean, you know, it was on my TBR list already. So that kind of makes sense that I enjoyed it a little bit, which means that our winning book is Nesting. This one was also on my TBR prior to the BookTube Awards, and I'm happy to report that it was rightfully on my TBR. I actually really, really liked this book. It was a little bit gruesome and a little bit graphic. It is about domestic abuse and survivorship, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the writing. I thought it was a really well done book, and I want to read. I don't even know if she has other books, but I want to read more from her. And there was never a question for me that this was book number one. Like the rest of them, somewhere in the middle. So this was book number one, and then Dream Count was book number two. Number 3, 4, and 5, I really kind of struggled with like which books to put where, because I was like, oh, but this one had a little bit of this, and this one I kind of liked, and so this one there was never a question that this was going to be ranked number one. Like after I read it, it was ranked number one immediately, and it never lost its place as number one. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited that I got this one checked off my list because truthfully, if I hadn't been judging the BookTube prize, I probably would not have read this for a number of years, if ever. Like I might have never gotten to it. So I'm excited that it was pulled for this and that I got to read it. So with that being said, let's find out if any of my top 3 and really my top 2, if they made it into the quarterfinal rounds. Let me grab my phone and let's check. Get to the YouTube. Okay, so I was in judging group D. I'm going to put this on the screen for you so you guys can see what I'm looking at. The top 3 that made it out of this was nesting. So, okay, go off. And then stag dance and what we can know. I'm not pleased by that. Only one of my top 3 made it. So, I disagree with these results. It's okay. I'm not in charge, but I disagree with these results. So I'm just putting that out there, and we'll have to see what comes out of the quarterfinals into the semifinals. I'll be interested to see what does make it. I will say that when the judging groups were announced, I had my eyes on three or four of the judging groups that I was like, oh, I would be so excited to judge in that group. This group, despite it having 2 books from my TBR already, was nowhere in my I would love to judge that group section. And then I got assigned it. So what are you going to do? So I'll say that judging the BookTube Awards was an interesting process. I stepped outside of my comfort zone. I read some books that I wouldn't ordinarily have read. It pushed some books that were on my TBR up to the top of the TBR so I could read them. And I liked the way that I structured it, although I didn't, I would say the one complaint that I have is I did not feel like it was enough time to read the 6 books. Now, hear me out. There's 6 books. You have 8 weeks to read them and rank them. That sounds like it might be enough time. And if you are, I guess I would say if you're like more of a casual reader, you probably have plenty of time. But like, that's not the only thing that I'm reading, because y'all know that I'm doing the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. So I had to keep on pace for that. Plus, I love the reading challenges through Goodreads. I know they're silly. I know they don't mean anything, but I love getting the bookmarks for that. So I also had to keep up with that. All of that didn't leave me any time to read whatever I wanted to read. So I kind of struggled with the commitment of it. And so I did have a good time. And I think that if you're interested in judging for the BookTube prize for next year, you should absolutely sign up. But I would just say, if you're a person who has like reading deadlines that you self-impose upon yourself, this could be a little bit of a struggle unless you're willing to put other things to the side. Now, all of that being said, I did not put my name in the hat for judging the quarterfinals, which are going on right now, because I felt like I wanted a little bit of a break from having to focus on the BookTube prize, because Herked is coming to an end very soon. And so I want to be able to focus on that and not have to split my attention or stress out about which books I'm reading or like deadlines for BookTube prize submission. And like, when I tell you that our ballots were due on the 30th and I submitted mine on like midnight on the 29th, your girl was stressed about making that deadline, because I was still reading a book until like midnight the night before. It's fine. I got it done, but it did stress me out a little bit. All in all, I had a good time, and I am going to throw my name back in the hat for judging the semifinals. Even though it stressed me out just a little bit, I would still do it again. And I totally recommend, if you're interested in it, signing up to judge the 2027 BookTube Awards. You can go follow the BookTube Awards channel on both Instagram and on YouTube to stay up to date with everything. Even if I do not get selected to judge again for this year, I will definitely be signing up to judge for next year, for year 9. I enjoyed that DNFing that one book has inspired me to DNF more books. I DNF'd that book, and then maybe 2 weeks after that, I DNF'd another book just on my own. I was like, no, I'm not going to read this. It's not hitting for me. It's not doing it for me. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me on this journey with the BookTube prize judging in the octofinals. I like saying that word, the octofinals. It sounds so cool. And I'm curious if you judged for the first round of the 2026 BookTube Prize and you happen to be watching this video, did your picks make it? I'm curious, if you're not judging in the BookTube Prize, were you rooting for any of the books that I read in this video? Let me know in the comments down below. And since you made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all the beautiful YouTube things, and I will see you all in the very next video.